You're welcome, Amal Hassan. Please, can you give us a highlight on your journey and how impactful has been to the service industry?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So like she mentioned, my name is Amal Hassan. I'm the founder and CEO of Outsource Global. I started my career, like mentioned earlier, with an IT training center here in Kano. I was born and brought up here in Kano. I'm always nervous when I'm speaking here, but not anywhere else, because I really want to communicate the right message to my people. So I started here in Kano, and we've trained a lot of IT professionals. And I looked at it, we're not doing anything for them. They come in to the centers, they get trained in various IT courses, and they go back into the market without a job. And I started researching on what I could do to create employment. So note that we didn't start the business to make money. We started to train a lot of IT professionals, and then to get them, to get them to have jobs. And we weren't succeeding at the time, and they weren't able to get jobs. So we started researching on what I could do to create employment. And I looked at India because I was dealing with a lot of Indians at the time. I realized that business process outsourcing provides millions of jobs to Indians. What is business process outsourcing? Companies in the US, UK, and international market outsource a segment of their business to countries that are less developed, where labor is relatively cheaper, so that they can focus on their core businesses. If you call British Airways today, a company in India picks up your call. So if you call Emirates or Qatar, a company in India picks up your call. So I looked at the parameters for providing outsourcing, and I looked at it. We have very good English-speaking people in Nigeria. We graduate, 1 million graduate according to statistics. And we have better time zone than India and Philippines, that are the biggest provider of this service to companies in the US, right? And we have better time zone than India. And I said, why not Nigeria? I moved toward establishing the company. It took me 8 years to start the company. I started it 4 times and failed, but we went live June 2016. And today we have 4 centers in Nigeria and opening 2 other ones outside the country.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you very much. I have to mention that we did this not because I'm the most intelligent person in Nigeria or in Kano, where I'm born and raised and married, but we did this and we're able to achieve this because somehow God has blessed us to be exposed to something that a normal young Arewa is not able, has not been privileged to do. So that's how we're able to grow the business. Today we have about over 2,000 people providing different services for companies. Mostly 80% of our clients are US clients. I'm going to mention this because it's very important, because you asked a question, how do you change the service industry in Nigeria? If you look at it today, how many companies can employ the number of people we graduate every year? How many companies do we have in Nigeria that can absorb the number of people? So it's either 2 things. We go into entrepreneurship when we finish university, or we go outside the country to work. And when you go outside the country to work, it's not everybody that can go outside the country to work, but you can remain within the country and work for any other company across the world. So we started with customer service and sales. And within 1 year, I looked at it again and I said, I don't want, for instance, my daughter to finish school and be a call center agent forever. And she has studied, she has studied software engineering. So we started creating different professional services. So we moved from customer service to telemarketing. We moved to legal services. We started taking lawyers in Nigeria and they work under senior lawyers in the US. We currently have about 70 lawyers working for the US market. We moved to accounting as a service. We take accountants and they work under accountants in the US in different accounting, under different accounting departments in different companies in the US. We're now doing software development as a service. We're doing professional medical services. People work in hospitals, hospital administrative management in the US. And they're all sitting where? Mostly in northern Nigeria, right? And our smallest center is Lagos Center. Abuja is our biggest center. We have Kaduna, our second big, and now we have Gombe. And I'm very proud to say, when we established Gombe, it opened my eyes to a different Arewa. And I'm telling you today, all the services that we've introduced in Gombe, because they have very limited options, those agents in Gombe are really performing more than the
Wow.
centers in others.
Who are from Gombe here? Aren't you proud of yourself? Clap more. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
What were the biggest regulatory and financial obstacle you faced, and how did you overcome it?
I like to talk about the problems without getting into trouble, right? I mentioned earlier I started 4 times and failed. And the biggest problem when starting was even getting people to believe that we can actually do this business, right? Convincing an Arewa to invest in me, a woman with 4 children and a husband, to do this. In fact, I've been called 419.
Wow.
A lot of people told me that there is no way an American client will outsource a segment of their business or his business to me sitting in Nigeria. There is no way. And my answer to them is I will always say, Allah will make them. So, and as Allah will have it, he made them, and they've been able to outsource to us. So finance is one of the biggest obstacle. Of course, Nigeria is the biggest obstacle. We're in Kano, so I will not mention the problem. But we started in ICT Park Kano, and that's where we started. It didn't happen. I moved to Kaduna, got a new investor, started all over again, got to almost 70% completion of putting the center in place. We encountered another problem. So it's mostly related to finance.
Okay.
And that's really, we're here and talking about Islamic finance. Growing Arewa, we have to look at what the issues are, right? And try to solve the problems based on the issues, right? So as I know you're in a hurry for us to go for break and prayers, but I have to say this. When the last panel they were speaking, when I'm in Kano, I lose my English. I don't know why. So when they were speaking, and I was thinking of what the problem is, right? Should I call you Professor Bugaji, mentioned about meat distribution in the north. And immediately I was thinking, if I was Islamic Development Bank, right, and we identified that one problem, How do we galvanize financing a private sector to actually drive that? So we've all been mentioning, anytime we sit in a meeting or anytime we come together as people in Nigeria and Arewa, most especially, we talk about the government does not work, right? But what are we doing as private sector for it to work? We talk about young Arewa are lazy. I am telling you, young Arewa are not lazy. There is no opportunity, right, for them. If you take young Arewa and you bring them into a center like ours, we train them, they look at the opportunity, they feed from there. They will sustain that food. Their families are dependent on them providing that. So when you go to our kasuas, they are going to the market every day and transacting. Are they lazy? They go every day and they transact, and these are the real young areas, right?
Yes.
So there is no, they have not seen the opportunity, they've not seen the development. So how do we invest? How do we as average young areas invest in our people to grow, right? Right now we have young areas serving the international market from here. They work US time. They come in at 2 a.m. EST and close at 12 midnight.
That brings
So
us
we were
to
able to train them directly from school and they're able to deliver. Yes, there are one or two issues because of the cultural, I like to say, cultural nuances, right? But when we expose them, when they leave outside the country, they excel. They become the best neurosurgeon in Houston. You know, so but why are they not performing here? We're not asking the question why we are not performing. How can somebody like me, who was born and brought up here and was raised here in a traditional home, my house is not too far from here, I got married in my first year of college, had my 4 kids, you know, be able to sit one day and say, we are going to serve the international market. We're not going to provide service for the domestic market, even though now we are, but we didn't start with domestic. Is exposure, is looking at the possibility that it can be done, is having the knowledge. So how do we change that? And that's a question for all of us.
yes. What role has technology played in driving the success of Outsource Global?
Outsource cannot succeed. I mean, cannot exist without technology.
Yeah.
Right? Technology is what drives the business, and is one of also the reasons why we moved from Kano to Kaduna at that time, because there was a general feeling that there is fiber optics, there's better connectivity, because from Abuja to Kaduna, dragging a fiber is so much cheaper. You know, so technology is what makes it happen. And right now, if you look at the telecom penetration, right, Nigeria has the highest telecom penetration in Africa. And when we look at literacy rate, and I hear poverty, and I hear all of us looking at all the problems of the North, if you take the educated people in the North, I've not done that calculation, but this is a feeling that I've heard. Based on the based on the population of Arewa, if you take the count, not based on the percentage of the population, and count how many educated people are there in Arewa and how many educated people, I'm very sure you're going to see that it is very high based on the population, because our universities are educating and graduating every year from these states. We're having graduates every year, and the population is really high. So how do we use technology to change Arewa? So if we take the meat production, if we take agriculture, how do we bring in technology to help? How do we create exchange? Because the biggest problem of agriculture here is transportation and storage and all that. How do you use technology to do that? If we create a single exchange and connect buyers in the south and sellers here, I get one person to say, your job is transportation. Do it as your own business. What we've done in outsource is to say we're not going to provide everything for ourselves. So our agents or the people that work for us, we call them agents, they have to be transported because they close at 12 midnight and 3 a.m. and all that, and we have to transport them. So what we did is we got young entrepreneurs and say, can you bring transport people together to pick our people at certain time? It started with taking them and bringing them to the center and taking them back, and now we've made it just bringing them, taking them back home. And that person, the person that is doing it in Abuja, and the person that is doing it in Kaduna, and the person that is doing it in Gombe, is their major business. It's one of our major costs. We spend millions every month transporting our people. You've created an entrepreneur. So if you call somebody and say you would invest in this, look for the money to transport meat to Lagos and get whatever equipment, refrigerator, and all that. Transport this every day and get people. He will aggregate people just like the way this transportation, this young entrepreneur did for outsource. He just brought in different people that have bosses, and he will coordinate them. We know him, we pay him, and he coordinates based on the different routes, and that's his business. So how do you use technology to do that? Of course, for outsource, without technology, we cannot. We use it. We have fiber optics, we have internet, we have power in every center, and we established according to international standard, and that's how it is.
As a role model, this is all. As a role model for women, how do you encourage?
You can use this.
Let me just use this. As a role model for women, how do you encourage and support women in tech and service industry?
So I think I've touched on it a bit. Whatever we're trying to do with Outsource Global, we look at how to promote women, right? From the way we interview. And that's why even for us to be serving the US markets at different time zones, we still have more than 50% women working for us, right? How do we support them? We make sure that from the way we interview and the way we bring in women and we bring in people, the woman is being considered, right? I always take myself as an example. You will have to force me to speak before I'm able to speak. And even when I speak in the South, people will say, if I have done quarter of what you've done, the whole world will know me. Because an average northerner and an average woman in general does not like to boast about what she's doing. And plus the fact that I know that it has nothing to do with me. I was just in the right place at the right time, and God made it happen, right? So it's very difficult for me to come out and say, we have done this or I have done this. But what we've done with interviews, starting from interviews, and it's very important for me to say this, even if we are almost at break time. So we've removed interview and made it just 5%. So you come in, you go through 7 different testings. So that way, that, I'm sorry to say, manly nature of, boasting about himself will have to just earn him 5%. But the woman will go through the 7 different testing, and it's a level ground. So she doesn't need to speak in an interview to actually get in, because we already know that she can do the job by the 7 different testings. And when we identify leaders, we push the woman to actually get promoted because they deliver within the system, right? So we encourage them because they always say we have our operations director all the time that she has moved from an agent that is picking call to a team leader to I have to go and sit with her and convince her that she can do it because somehow there's that feeling that we cannot. I mean, the society makes us. So we have to always push for that, right? We have to push for that. When I was looking for investment, there was one particular guy that told me, "Do your ke mace you're asking kina tambaya wannan kuɗin? Yaushe kika gama kula da gidanki? Sannan ki zo ki, and I know I left that meeting knowing he was the few people that believed that business because he was telling me yes idan na kira banki na a Ingila yan India ne suke ɗauka ya gane he knows he understood the business but he was the one guy that understood the business but he would just not give me because I'm a woman.
Wow.
So yes, so we have to. Yes, and also we've created a lot of mentorship program where we're mentoring women in tech that are doing things that are similar to us. We're looking at the areas that we have struggled and how we can help them and advise them. The mistakes that I have done starting up and the things that they need to do. So mentorship is also very important. I was also told speaking and showcasing what we've done is very, very important, and I've been doing a lot of that because it shows women and youth, Arewa youth, that they can do much better than what I have done if they put their minds to it and believe that God can make it happen for them. So I always tell them, if you have an idea and you can see it to a certain level happening, believe in yourself and be deaf about whatever people tell you because the one that has created the world can make that idea happen. So thank you.
You very much,
Yeah.
Ajia Amal Hassan. That was wonderful, quite inspiring. I believe all the women here want to be like her. We would love to take questions, but at this junction, we're going for prayer and lunch break for 25 minutes. And you can actually meet her and ask her personally before she
Surely we can
takes a
take one
break.
or two
Or we should take one question. Should we take one?
One or two, that would be good.
Salam alaikum. So it's very exciting every time I hear Amal speak because I could see her struggle. In my own space, I have gone through that struggle, probably more. And I feel that Amal is like a beacon for all of us in the north, especially from this part of the north. I came from Maiduguri, so I don't even have a chance, you know, coming from where I am coming from. I tell people that I live with my cattle in the same in the same room, an attached roof. So going to school is out of the way. So going out to be resilient, which I know that northern women are known for, could be very important for this. But then mentorship and coming together to see that we promote, especially women, how to go about these things. So I think that what you're doing is beautiful, but we need to do a lot more collaborations to see that we come together to see how we can assist our younger sisters, especially on platforms like the Islamic finance space, where I see a lot of women trying to make ends meet, trying to be the breadwinners in their homes, but there's no one to tell them this is what you need to do, what you need to what kind of mentoring they should be provided with. So I think that going forward, we should, I know we're going to converge again next year, or in the next 2 years to talk about this. I know that this is a space where we can be able to improve the lives of a lot of us, especially the girls. So let's do collaborations and see how we can be able to get girls to be more educated, more exposed. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. And I'm very open to that. I feel that we've been doing things in isolation, and that's really what Young Arewa do, where everybody is doing their own thing. There is no collaborative effort that brings us together to sort of support Arewa. So, how do we do that? And that's the question for all of us. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Haji Amal. Thank you thank you for honoring the invitation and giving us a session. I'm sorry we have to move on the agenda, and other questions can come after. Please, can we put our hands together for Amal Hassan for that beautiful support?